converted man here. Otangelo, a creationist who many have encountered in this online world of ours where we explore the topic of God. Us pesky atheists and skeptics and non religious people asking probing questions like, do you have evidence of God? Sometimes encounter interesting characters like this gentleman. I've encountered him, and I regret to say that I have made fun of him. I made fun of the way he speaks, and I am very sorry for that. I'm going to sneeze at you! Whoa, I sneezed! Oh, that was unexpected. Anyways, I've encountered him, and, you know, our interaction was pleasant until it wasn't, and later I made fun of him. I regret that. I apologize for that. He is an interesting character, and, you know, whether you want to interact with him or not, that's up to you, and ultimately it's the argument that matters and not the person. So, what can we know about this guy? What has he said, and what has he produced as far as arguments go? And it's fair to say that one could make an entire atheist career out of showing how wrong this guy is, because, well, he's like definitely a contender for a winner of the Nobel Dunning-Kruger Effect Award. He knows enough to be dangerous, but doesn't know enough to know that he's wrong. And he's tied these beliefs that he has with his belief in God, making him more sure that he's right, and thus quadrupling the Dunning-Kruger effect that he already is under. He has spent time and energy into this, and so has a sunken cost investment in it, so he has many reasons to continue to believe as he does. He will not listen to anyone attempting to correct him at any level, period. He is absolutely dedicated to remaining a creationist. Is he young Earth creationist, old Earth creationist? It's hard to say exactly. But, yeah. I'd like to do a mid-size dive here and see what he has to say about himself. Take a look on his forum and read some of his book and talk about it. So let's get started with, I suppose, his forum. Well, no, let's start with the author. Otangelo Grasso is a Swiss Italian born in 1966 near, there's no way I'm pronouncing that right, Switzerland. He began his professional career as an apprentice machine designer after successfully concluding his studies in 1986. Working in the profession for several years, he's honed his skills, gained valuable experience. Then he moved to Brazil, eventually settled down somewhere else, and he currently resides as a successful real estate developer. Well, good for him. But I guess that gives him a lot of time to do his stuff. He's fluent in German, Italian, Portuguese, and English. Well done. Yeah. He's acquired a limited knowledge of Spanish and French. He's married to somebody and blah, blah, blah. He's a young Earth creationist. So there we go. He's been a Christian since 1984 and an apologist, and he's a young Earth creationist, a proponent of intelligent design, which is creationism, and he has written and spoken on this topic. He published a book in Portuguese on physics and astronomy. His latest book, On the Origin of Life by Viruses, World by Means of an Intelligent Designer and the Factory Maker, Placella's Watchmaker Argument 2.0. I have a kindred spirit of this guy. He has short titles like I do. My short title is Caught Between an Infinite Hope and a Finite Despair. So yeah, we're kindred hearts there. We both like long titles. It was released last year. He's also published a 2-volume book confirming Yahshua, corroborating Jesus Christ's historicity in the Bible identity. He also wrote the book RNA DNA Nexus on biosynthesis pathways pointing to intelligent design. He's written articles for Discovery Institute. Yay! And Uncommon Descent, a website serving the intelligent design community. Isn't that amazing? He's engaged in many debates with atheists over the years, showcasing his deep knowledge and unwavering faith. He runs a virtual library defending the Christian worldview, creationism, and intelligent design. Now, he runs a virtual library. Now, remember, he wrote his intro here. So let's take a look at the library that he has online, because defending the Christian worldview, creationism, intelligent design. I guess that's this page. I mean, what else would it be? I don't know, but maybe not. But I think that this is. I'm gonna quadruple check. And Google. Let's see. There's a Facebook page. So that could be the Facebook page. It's unclear to me. Oh well, whatever. We'll just look at the forums. The forums are not related to his online library, but okay. Good a time as any to check them out, I suppose. Yeah, it's a not well done biography. Yes. Yeah. All right. So on his forum, I'm a member, because why not? And I thought I was the only member. That's not. Well, it's kind of true. We'll get to that. So you can see every post is him that started the post, and there's a lot of images and a lot of things and stuff. Like I said, you could make an entire career out of pointing out how wrong he is in all his writings. It's just too much to go over. Now, as far as being the only member, like I said, that's kind of true in that, I joined 2023 last year, so I have 21 posts. He has 9,769 posts. That's a lot. And everyone else has either one or none. Or this one person had 5 posts. Now their name says godless, but they're not godless. They're just kind of odd. And this guy has 6 posts. Oh wow. But yeah, there's other ones, but their interactions are pretty much null and void. So I would say that I'm the most active member other than him on his forum, which I'm not sure that's something to be proud of or not. But there you have it. And I just ask questions about his posts. I try to knock him off his idea that these two worlds have to be intertwined, that denying evolution has to be intertwined with believing in God. But it's completely unsuccessful. I'm convinced he does not want to learn about reality. He cannot learn about reality because it would destroy his faith in God, and he won't let that happen. He has built up mental defenses to prevent it. I'm very sure about that. So, at any rate, it goes on, and he has a YouTube channel, The God Talk, and so there you go. So he has 34 books. Yeah, that's impressive to some degree. I mean, it takes time and energy to write books. From forensics to faith, the shroud of Turon's history. Creator signature in the cosmos, beyond evolution. Whatever that word is. All these different origin of life, and how they're all just about intelligent design and some other stuff on that's different languages, and confirming Jesus, and the Shroud of Turon, because we haven't seen that enough. So yeah. Pardon me. So let's look just at one glimpse at a book that he has, The Origin of Species by Design. The heart of scientific theory, as debate has unfolded for hundreds of years. Not really. There's a debate in as much as there are people who disagree, yes, but it is not a scientific debate. It is a debate between scientists and people who don't know science. It is a debate between those that understand reality and those who don't. C.S. Lewis was among those who first debated Darwinianism in public, making the sort of outlandish claims that would lay the framework for later apologetics. C.S. Lewis, I don't know if he coined the ideas or if it was someone else, but he certainly helped with forming these ideas of, well, if evolution is true, then you can't really trust your brain because it's not built to find truth, but it's built to survive, which of course that does mean that it's also built to find what's true, because if you find something that's false, then you might not survive. But also, yes, it's not built just to find truth. So yes, you're going to believe in false things, and that's why we should be a skeptic. But of course, C.S. Lewis didn't want to include that in his argument. So he and others popularized this religion versus science debate. And they didn't understand the science. They didn't want to understand the science. They saw it as an affront to their beliefs. They saw it as something that said no to God, or no to Jesus, or no to the Bible. And they sunk their feet in and said, this is how it goes, and that's it. And this is the way it is. So there isn't really a debate. It's you're wrong versus people trying to tell you why you're wrong. And there's been discussion about whether or not we should even debate people that disagree, yada yada, and then it legitimizes them to even give them a platform. It's like, look, what are you gonna do? Okay, now, this is a side topic, a side tangent. Hold on a second. A side tangent, if you will, but I want to address it. Either you ignore the people saying X is true, and those people continue to say that unopposed, or you debate them. So if you don't debate them, they're just going to say, look, they won't even debate us. So they know how right we are. So, yeah, maybe if you debate them, you get them some more attention. Maybe you get them more followers, but maybe you lose them followers as well. I don't know. But I think that we have to debate bad ideas because the truth hopefully will win. Anyways, so yeah. Insights into the true forces and mechanisms that work behind the scenes of life's grand stage. See, it's not evolution. Of course, it's God. That's the real thing. Of course, my God, not your God, by the way. Yeah. So, all right. Yeah. Let's see. You're invited on a journey of exploration, fostering a deeper understanding, encourage critical thinking on one of the science's most profound questions. No, if you bought this book, you probably agree with Otangelo already, and you probably bought it and didn't read it at all. I do wonder how many people bought his books. The debate whether biodiversity and complexity of life can be fully explained by unguided evolutionary mechanisms. And okay, so right off the bat, we have the typical creationist non understanding of the mechanism of evolution. It's not completely unguided. That's not true. There is a guiding force. They want to think that now some that agree with evolution would say the guiding force is God. Okay, I can't really say no to that per se. I can't say yes to it. There's no reason to propose that in my view, but okay, fine. Then you have God and evolution. At least that's a little bit better than having God without reality. But the guiding force isn't God, it's death, or rather, not working the way it's not working in general. So, if two things can connect, then they connect. If they're able to, if they have the right conditions, you have protein A and protein B, and those proteins they're able to connect to each other. There's no reason that they can't. That's just they can't. But protein A and protein Z, they can't connect. They don't like each other, so to speak. They just don't connect. There's no plug for them to plug into, but Z connects great to C. So you can go ACZ. Maybe I should have chosen a different letter than Z because it sounds like C. I'm going to change that to the letter Q. Yes. Okay, so ACQ, but you can't go AQC. You have to have C has to connect to Q. Q can't connect to A. C can connect to Q and A, but A can only connect to C, and Q can only connect to C. So only because of C can these things connect to each other. And then when you have that configuration, then you have this sort of thing that emerges from those three things being connected together that's more complicated than the original three things were. And then that protein does another thing that by themselves they wouldn't do. And so the filtering mechanism is if it doesn't work, then it fails to work, and that's the end of it. Now, it can kind of work, but not work very well. And as long as it doesn't fall apart, then it keeps going. And it builds upon and builds upon things, even if it has some structure in it that's not very good. As long as it's good enough, it will continue to survive and thrive. But eventually, once it is what we would normally call life, you have competition with other life. So if it's able to survive better than the other thing, then it does. And so there you go. It's a filtering mechanism of death, destruction, and non-working stuff, broadly speaking. So there is a filtering mechanism that is completely and wholly natural in its mechanisms. But creationists cannot admit to that because it would destroy their straw man of evolution. They must have a straw man of evolution where evolution is unguided completely by chance, because that's the only version of evolution that they can attack. They cannot attack the real version of evolution because they will fail, because they don't know enough about it, and perhaps they know they don't know enough about it. All right. Or whether the involvement of, this kind of, hold on. Let's see. The pages are not behaving. you can't really copy and paste because it's a preview. This dichotomy reflects a broader conflict between naturalism and theism, two contracting worldviews. Okay, so this is another sort of false dichotomy that creationists have. There's the world's view and the biblical view, which is absolutely right. And because God authored it, can't be wrong because God made it. How do I know God made it? Well, of course, because God said he made it. Why would God lie? You're silly. You're just believing the world. That's all lies. You could be a naturalist and believe in God. It would be a naturalistic God, but you could do it. But this is again a false dichotomy proposed by and insisted by creationists because the reality would again not be something that they could argue against, not even a little. Man. All right. So naturalism is a worldview. Yes, theism isn't really a worldview in and of itself. Theism says belief in God, but you have to have a specific theism to have a worldview. Theism is no more a worldview than atheism is. And understanding these words is why I can say that. You know, theism just says, I believe in God. Atheism says, I don't believe in God. And yes, you get the variance of there is a God or there isn't a God in there. But nonetheless, that's not enough to form a worldview. Theism, Catholic. Okay, Catholic, now you can have a worldview. Theism, Judaism, now you have a worldview. Hinduism, now you have a world, Buddhism, whatever. You have to tack on more to it than just a belief in God before you have any worldview. But at any rate, so there's not a conflict between naturalism and theism. It's a conflict because naturalism isn't what you're arguing against. You're not arguing against naturalism, which is a philosophy of ideas. You're arguing against biological evolution, which is a fact of science. You're not arguing. So what he's done here is pitch this argument as if it's an argument of theism versus naturalism, but that it can't be because Darwinian evolution, or just evolution, forget about Darwin, but creationists love to say Darwin this, Darwin that, because they don't know that we've updated since Darwin. Evolution doesn't need to be under a naturalism framework, per se, but the creationist asserts that science uses uses naturalism. No, well, they use methodological naturalism, but they'll assert things like science operates under the assumption of naturalism. But no, it doesn't operate under any assumptions. It operates under some assumptions, but not assumptions like that. To do science, it's not that difficult to do basic science. You yourself get a pen and paper or pencil, some way to record what you're observing. You write down what you observe and you detail it as much as you can, and you could draw pictures of it, take pictures of it, take video of it, whatever, and then you don't just sit on that. You send it to somebody else and they look at the same thing that you just looked at, and they make their own observations. They write down their stuff. They take pictures, whatever. And then you say, okay, now that we've both done that, let's send both of our writings to somebody else to look at that and see what matches and what doesn't match, and if they can tell what we looked at. And if they know, oh, yeah, they're, without telling me what you're looking at, two people both explore item X. I don't know what item X is. And you both send me your report of item X. Obviously, you don't. You describe it to me without, say a bottle of soda. You don't tell me it's a bottle of soda, but you describe it to me in every other way possible. and I should be able to figure it out from your description. And there you go. That's kind of the barest bones science that you could do. Anyways, but that doesn't assume naturalism. If supernaturalism or non-materialism was a thing, well, the thing is, we'd have to be able to observe it, which we can't. We'd have to be able to test it, but we can't. So there isn't a there to examine. So by definition, the non-world isn't a world that you can explore. You can't investigate magic because magic isn't there. Mythbusters, once upon a time, and Adam Savage has talked about kind of regrets of doing it, where they tried to study pyramid power, that if you have whatever plant under a pyramid, that it will grow faster. And it's very, how do you set up controls for that? Because what kind of pyramid, what materials does it have to be, and there's no consensus of how it's supposed to work. So you can't show that you can't show anything. Some of the plants died, some of them did really well. And the control plants, some of them died and some of them, so there was no difference between the two. But you could always, of course, move the goalpost. If you want to believe in pyramid power, you can always move that goalpost around and say, well, it didn't work because, you were watching it, or that you wanted it to work. You wanted it to fail. Your skepticism made it fail, or you didn't do it this way, or you used the wrong type of wood, or whatever. You could always move the goalpost back. So with the study of magic, supernatural world, there isn't even a study to do, so it can't ever be science. So anything and everything that you might want to say about it would be pure speculation at best. So he's pitting pure speculation against observable reality. That's what's really going on. Let's see. Naturalism is a philosophical perspective that asserts all phenomenon, including diversity of life, can be explained by natural processes operating according to physical laws. No, actually, no. Naturalism naturalism asserts that all there is the natural world. As a just word goes, but this is kind of just added on. Whatever. In the context of biology, naturalism holds that evolution through mechanisms such as natural selection. See, he does know about natural selection. So that's interesting. Notice how unguided evolutionary mechanisms separated by almost a full paragraph to natural selection. So he knows that it's a thing, but he didn't mention it here. He said the debates between naturalism, which it isn't a debate between naturalism, but whatever. It's a debate between naturalism and this thing that isn't evolution. Oh, well, actually, there is natural selection, genetic variation, and environmental pressures that can account for the complexity and diversity of living organisms. But I'm going to pretend that it's actually not any of those things. They're unguided evolutionary mechanisms. Because I can't admit that there is a guiding force, which I just admitted to. So my debate is framed as this thing that I know isn't really the debate, because otherwise I couldn't debate it, but that's what naturalism is. Naturalism says all that. So he says naturalism's, even though naturalism doesn't really say this, but he said naturalism says here's evolution and you've got natural selection, genetic variation, environmental pressures. That's all a selection basis. But he says, oh, it's unguided. So which is it? Is it an unguided process, Or is it a guided process? Which is it? Please, Otangelo, make up your mind. Are you fighting against a non-real evolution, which is unguided mechanisms, or are you fighting against actual evolution, which is guided mechanisms? He can't do both, so he's going to go after the straw man. Of course he is, because that's all he's got. Theism, on the other hand, posits the existence and characteristics of the natural world are best explained by the presence of an intelligent and purposeful creator or divine being. No, that's not true. Only certain types of theism posit that. So he's lying. He's wrong again, because it depends on what theism. By being non-specific with this, he makes a category error. He makes an error. It's like, look, some theisms don't propose this at all. So you have to be clear of which theism you're talking about. But if he said Christianity, the game would be up. We would know. That's the game. The game is to hide the version of theism that you want to propose until the very end. That's the game. Let's see. The dispute between naturalism and theism centers on the interpretation of evidence and the underlying assumptions about the nature of reality. Yes, the interpretation of evidence. Yes. The classical apologetic grabbing at straws. How do you interpret this evidence? Well, there's the right way, and then there's the apologetic way. The apologetic way, of course, is going to decide that it must mean their desired outcome, whereas the right way is to say, well, it is whatever it is, and that's it, and we're not going to add more to it. It looks designed. It must be designed. Versus, it looks designed. I wonder why. Let's dig in deeper. Let's figure that out. Let's find out what's going on there. Let's not just stop there. Let's keep going and discover what's going on. Making sense of the vast diversity of life is still today one of the greatest, if not the greatest, intellectual challenge, together with the origin of life. I don't know if it's the greatest. I mean, I think it's pretty much, we know a lot of it, so I don't know. It's a battle that goes beyond science. Really. It's a culture war. Wow. Between naturalism / strong atheism. So now we're grouping atheism into naturalism. Now there's strong atheism and naturalism. And creationism, intelligent design. Creationism is intelligent design. The two are the same. They mean the same thing. There is no difference between intelligent design and creationism. They're one and the same. That's been proven in the Denver trial or whatever it was. It's the literal interpretation of the Genesis accounts. So here we go. Now we're revealing. Now at last, finally, we've gotten to. It's time to reveal my theism. It's time to reveal what's under my shell of the shell game we've been playing. It's the literal interpretation of the Genesis account in the Bible is true, then Darwin's theory of evolution is false, and vice versa. Well, then the literal version of Genesis is false. The end. Thanks for playing. But also, again, Darwinian view, a common creationist sort of thing that they get wrong. And, yeah. So, then he goes on to quote some people and stuff. We're going to run out of book to read here soon. So, there you go. There's what this is about. This is about a literal version of Genesis versus reality. That's what the argument's really about. So all the things that were said before that don't matter. Nothing matters because we found the real debate. We've gotten at last to the core of this debate. I need to view Genesis in this way, and that's it. And if it's not this, then you know, and you freak out because it has to be this. It can't be any other way. It has to be my way. It has to be my version. It has to be this. He worships the Genesis account. Now look, I like Genesis, okay? But Phil Collins is not a mega genius. He's a good, talented artist, but to take him literally makes no sense. I mean, is he talking about a home by the sea? Yes, but is there a literal home by the sea? Maybe, but did he really go there and get trapped there? Well, no, because then he couldn't make the song about it. So obviously, the song isn't about what literally happened. What? Wrong Genesis? Ah, damn it! That one was for somebody watching that's a nerd. All right. And also, while I'm on the subject of the wrong Genesis, do you think that if Phil Collins, if he put dirt into a hole, would he be filled Collins? Okay, that get because Phil. All right. Filled Collins. All right, Phil. Frank Ziller, president of American Atheists, because you know we operate on a hierarchy. We listen to presidents and whatnot. In 1996, the most devastating thing though that biology did to Christianity was the discovery of biological evolution. We now know that Adam and Eve were never real people. The central myth of Christianity is destroyed. Not just Christianity, also Judaism. But if there was never a real Adam and Eve, there was never original sin. If there was an original sin, there's no need of salvation. There's no need of salvation. There's no need of a savior. I submit this puts Jesus, historical or otherwise, in the ranks of the unemployed. And I think that evolution is the absolute death knell of Christianity. And then you got the Rock of Ages, the Bible here being shot against by all these warships, terrific but futile bombardments of Libya of truth, of battleships of unbelief. The word of our God shall stand forever. Isaiah 48. Yes. Conservative Protestants in the 1920s saw themselves in the midst of a great culture war, blah, blah, blah. Leaving the Bible aside, oh, thank goodness. The dispute is not about religion versus science, even though it absolutely is about that, but we're going to pretend that it isn't. But a case between case adequate inference based on scientific evidence and unwarranted conclusions. The big question is the origin of biodiversity Darwin's hypothesis of universal common ancestry, the theory of life, supported by evidence, unraveled by scientific facts? Yes. As the scientific establishment consensus among professionals of the field advocate for calling Darwin's theory and recently modified versions of undisputable scientific fact, or does the data lead to another direction? Is science right, or am I, Otangelo, right? Is science right, or am I, Otangelo, right? I'm right. I must be right. I am super smart, and I must be right. And that's how it is. You know, I'm just really that. I'm just so amazingly brilliant that you know. That's just how it is. And how dare you question? You know. Okay, so yeah, Potholer 54 just did a video called "Do Your Own Research: The Dunning-Kruger Effect," and you know, so that it just comes to mind when reading this. Is like this guy is the hallmark example of Dunning-Kruger. He learned enough to be dangerous, but he didn't keep learning, and so you have to believe that science got just enough right, but then started to be wrong. but he knows the truth. So science got, 80% right, but then somehow got the rest wrong. And thankfully, good old Otangelo here, who has absolutely no degree in anything related to biology whatsoever in his own biography, comes along to tell us, well, it's not about religion, even though he just said it is a literal version of Genesis that matters. It's actually some other stuff, you know. You know. So is science right or am I right? Which of the two has more creative power? Doesn't matter. Which of the two is correct? Is the right question to ask. Design or non-design? What? Intelligence or non-intelligence? Agency or non-agency? Consciousness, creation, or undirected, natural, non-intelligent processes? And see, there again, undirected, natural. We already saw it. He knows that natural selection is a part of evolution. He knows that. But he can't include that when talking about it, because if he did, it would ruin his straw man. So he constantly removes this. And throughout my discussions with him, that's come up many times where I'm like, you're not sticking to the thing that you originally said. You keep switching back and forth. So which is it? And he refuses to be pinned down, because if he was, the truth would be revealed and he'd have to give up his faith, and he won't do that. A little bit more, then we'll be done. Let's see. A 2019 survey of American biologists found that 98% of them agreed that evolution by natural selection is the best explanation for the diversity of life on Earth. Right. It was done by the Pew Research Center. Yeah. And there's that whole Dave or Steve or whatever name it was now, I can't remember, list of people with the same name that all agreed with evolution. These surveys suggest the vast majority of biologists worldwide accept Darwin's theory of evolution. It's interesting. It's always Darwin. Why is it always Darwin's theory of evolution, even though we've moved past Darwin? It's just the theory of evolution. But again, this is a common creationist talking point. Like, just keep saying Darwin, Darwin, Darwin. Well, there's a small minority of biologists who don't accept this theory. I don't think that there are any biologists that accept it. But I suppose there might be a few idiots out there. Sailing against the unfavorable wind is undoubtedly a challenging and energy-consuming endeavor. Right. The reason you do it is because you believe your own nonsense. However, the pursuit of truth remains the guiding force. No, the pursuit of beliefs that you hold is the guiding force. But he proposes that doing that is a really brave thing to do. It's really hard to press against the tremendous wave. I don't know. It just seems to me if everybody thinks you're wrong, maybe you're wrong. I don't know. My finding aligns with those of esteemed investigations in the field. No, your finding aligns with other creationist idiots. These scientists that are no longer scientists once they're doing creationism, committed to philosophical naturalism, may not draw simple conclusions like, and therefore God. Yeah, no, they do. Let's see. He goes on. Okay. Now, I wonder where he's going to talk about the age of the Earth being wrong and all that. Oh, here we go. This is just interesting. Does Darwin's theory of evolution replace God? Often atheists claim Darwin's theory of evolution replaces God. I do. I don't remember ever doing that, but okay. Richard Dawkins famously noted that, citation needed, Darwin made it possible to be intellectually fulfilled atheist. So what? I don't care. That's one example. That's not okay. Well, Darwin supposedly encountered an alternative explanation of biodiversity doesn't include an explanation for blah universe yada 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 yada. Other things that aren't evolution. Okay. All right. Anyways, okay. So I've had enough of that. So he has more books, and like I said, one could make an entire YouTube career out of just his forum posts, if nothing else. And I don't know if somebody wanted to read, I couldn't do it myself because I can't analyze my own writing. But if somebody else wanted to read his exchanges with me and analyze that, that'd be great. I'd love that. I'd watch it. I'd share it and be like, hey, watch this, people. It's interesting. Even if they said I was wrong, which I mean, probably was. I don't know. I don't remember what the hell I wrote at this point. But the argument. What's this guy's argument? Forget about his personality, his lack of education, all that. His argument boils down to evolution is unguided. Also, evolution is guided. Evolution's about, I'm arguing that the literal interpretation of the Bible of Genesis versus evolution. But I'm not arguing that, actually. This is actually beyond that. It's not just about that, even though that really is what matters. So one wonders what indeed his argument actually even is. I alone stand against all these people who agree with this thing, and I'm fighting the good fight to show the truth. They all got it wrong, and I alone got it right, even though I have absolutely no evidence to support anything that I say. I know I'm right because God is behind me. No, you're wrong. God isn't behind you. Not even a little. If there's a God, it used biological evolution to get us where we are at. I don't know why it would do that, but that's what it did. Because biological evolution is an utter fact of reality. Denying it is utterly stupid. But that's not going to stop people from doing it because they've invested time and energy and effort into proving themselves right. They're not interested in finding out the truth. They're interested in being right. And I myself have gone down that path of believing I'm absolutely right, only to find when I looked at it and calmed down and was objective that I was wrong. And it really pissed me off to be wrong. But I needed to humble myself to the facts. And so I remind myself and all of us, question whatever it is you believe. I've done so much research. That's nice. You could still be wrong, and you might be wrong, and you probably are wrong. So it doesn't matter how much research you've done. Have other people checked it? Have other people verified that it's right or wrong? People outside of your sphere? Have you had it debated? Have you tried to disprove it? Whatever the idea is, have you really set the idea to its limits to see whether it breaks or not? If it aligns with reality, it should withstand such critical scrutiny. And if not, it will fall apart rather quickly. If God is a thing that wants a relationship with you, I propose that it's possible that you're simply wrong with what God is. God is not this thing that you think it is, but it's different. So there could still be a God, and now you've just learned something new about God. You've learned that your literal view of Genesis was just incorrect. That's not what God had intended. for whatever reason. And you don't need to know that reason. You can trust God. So why not allow for the possibility that God is not the God that you thought, but now a different type of God? Just like in a normal relationship, you can learn something new about the other person. Because they've decided what God is. They've created an idol of God that then avoids the real God, if there was a real God at all, which I don't believe in. But if they want to believe in it, then why not use reason on it? Well, I don't know. But cognitive dissonance is a hell of a drug. Creationism is not science. Creationism is nonsense and illogical in full. And Otangelo has no valid or sound arguments. While he might have a valid argument, I haven't even seen an argument that's constructed correctly, so I don't know about that. But he definitely doesn't have any sound arguments. He has absolutely no empirical evidence to offer and no repeatable tests. That's why he wrote books and didn't publish peer-reviewed papers on the matter. Thanks for watching. Project Steve. Thank you, Vesta. That's it. Project Steve is the one that has all the list of Steves that agree with evolution. Oh, yeah, BS. Yeah, Project Nothing was a great success. Yeah, I really am happy how well it did. Yeah. I wanted to make a follow-up to it, but I just kept choking on myself and coughing and ruining it. So I saved up all that coughing and choking for this video so I could ruin this instead. And now I'm just talking to the audience, so whatever. Until next time, be skeptical, and then after next time, I guess, stay skeptical. Wait, no. To remain a creationist one-dimensionally, I can't read anything. All right, let's try this again. All right, we're going to pretend that didn't happen. All right. Thomas Rutledge says, to remain a creationist, oh, God. Okay. Listen. We're gonna do this seriously. Oh God, no. Oh, okay. All right. You know what? You guys read it. You read what he wrote. I can't read anymore. Good night, everybody. I'm done. I give up.